Good morning. I'm still basking in the glow of the love that was shared in last night's meeting. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. The title that I've chosen for today is 2012. If only we could simply love one another. And my blurb goes like this. Sometimes it seems to me that humans have been programmed to block rather than to allow love into our lives. As I observe people arguing about whose point of view is the right one, my heart breaks. It's not about being right. That's what our ego tells us is important, but it lies. If we would simply allow each other to simply be wherever he or she is, without judgment, choosing love, we could transform ourselves and the world. That is true Christ consciousness. And Mike Dooley, or Tut's message for today, actually, Ron, if you understood the extraordinary gifts every single challenge in your life makes possible, even inevitable, you'd celebrate your challenges, new and old alike, as omens that they are of new beginnings, spectacular change, and enhanced superpowers. Perfect for where you are, huh? The universe. With every hurt that we have in life comes a gift. That's one of the things that Margie says in the workshops, and she repeated it again last night. I forget the source that she's quoting from. But the love lines that occur here on a monthly basis, and last night we had 20 people sharing love. That's the most we've had for a love line since we've been doing them for a year, or the better part of a year anyway. That we've been doing them here at my house, I'm talking about, or at the Mary Horgan Center. What an awesome, awesome display of love we had. I mean, even new people that had never been to the love line before were so present, ready to share their love, receiving, giving, being, just accepting each other. We don't, without the stories, without the doctrine, without all the BS that we pile on each other normally in our lives. As I've observed over recent days, the conflict over wording of who's going to be in the Republic and who's going to not be allowed in the Republic, and what the proper oath of citizenship is supposed to be, as if you have to have some special invitation or some special word phraseology in order to be acceptable. And no matter what you do to try to protect your point of view, you automatically exclude somebody else, especially where religion is involved, which is such insanity. Because what I'm dealing with mostly is Christians. Christians that want to put the Bible as the law foundation of the Republic. And they don't see how that is insane, how it's stupid. I've talked about this before. When the very Jesus that these Christians are claiming to love, claiming to honor, claiming to represent, as Gandhi said, I don't have any problem with Christ, or I don't have any problem with Christ. The problem is with Christianity. But Jesus said, when he was asked about the law, he says, I'll boil it down for you. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. If you do these two things, you'll fulfill all of the rest of it. You will have it all if you'll just love. And I'll boil it down to one more, to just one. If you love your neighbor as yourself, you will be loving God, because God is in your neighbor as much as in you. That's what namaste means. The divine that's in me is in you, and I recognize that, and I honor that, and I allow you to be. If we'd stop trying to convert the world to our point of view, which is an ego religion, it's where our ego tells us that being right is the most important thing. That's where all arguments come from. That's where all wars come from. That's where all divorces come from. That's where all abortions come from. That's where all of the things that we see as evils in our world come from, because we don't love one another, because we don't love ourselves. If we could get that right, to recognize that I am a part of you and you are a part of me, and that we are each children of the same God. Get it through your head, the same God, because there's only one. If we could only get that, that is what all religion points to. It's what Buddhism points to. It's what Hinduism points to. It's what Judaism points to. It's what Islam points to. It's what every faith on the planet comes to. And Christians who claim to have the only way, because they misunderstand what Jesus said, Christians have so divided and divided and divided that I understand there's over 1,400 different denominations calling themselves Christian. And each of them are haggling over fine points of the law and doctrine and dogma. And it's crazy, because when we argue over those things, we are not loving one another. We are not fulfilling what Jesus said was the most important thing. And we who call ourselves Christians ought to know better, but we don't get it. We don't get it. So many of us, which is why I've said Christianity is a non-Christian religion, because we don't do what Jesus said to do, which is why he prayed the great prayer in the garden. Father, that they may be one in us, that the world may know that you sent me. But we don't get it yet. We are one in God, but we don't get it. We don't get the truth of the obvious, that we are all interconnected and we are all one. We've been fed a bill of goods that lies to us from our ego, that says, I am separate from everything else. I am this, but I am not that. I am here, but I am not there. We minimize ourselves. We don't understand that we are infinite and eternal, and all that we need is within each of us, and that is the ability to love. The ability to simply accept what is and give love instead of judgment and advice and opinions. Just simply accept the person where they are. And when that happens, the person feels and resonates with the love, because the love is the core of their being. It's the core of every one of our beings, even the psychopaths, even the sociopaths. The core of their being, the flame that's in them, if they will but allow it, the same flame, the eternal flame, is love. That's why it says God is love. And when we love, we transform. When we give and receive love, our lives are changed from the inside out. And we learn how to properly discern. Now, what does properly discern mean? It doesn't mean to hold people up against some standard that you believe is the absolute and most important truth. That's not loving. Loving is simply accepting people where they are. This is where they are now. It's their phase of evolution that they are in. And we choose to love them. just because they are part of God, just because we recognize the truth, the eternal truth that there is only one. It's the law of one. And that law is love. It can be no other law, because from love we came, to love we go. Be still, my child, and you shall know. We came from love. We return to love. Love is coming home. Experiencing love is coming back to our foundation, coming home to our essence. It's all about love. Why does it seem so hard for humans to get that? Why do we buy the lie and throw away the treasure? Why? Why do we remain so stiff-necked and hard-hearted, insisting that it has to be this way and not that way, when it can be both ways? I come from a family of ministers and missionaries. My own brother was killed, martyred, as my family sees it, martyred for his faith. He was a Christian missionary among the native peoples of Colombia, South America. Held as a captive for 17 months. 17 months by the drug lords, until the CIA overran the camp, and it was probably the CIA that killed him and the other man who was also captured, part of New Tribes mission out of Sanford, Florida, translating the Bible into other languages. But the letter kills. There's only one thing you really need from the Bible, the most important thing, and that is the central core of the message of Jesus. If the whole world could get that and recognize that he came to us from God, he was the Son of God. But when we recognize that, we want to put him as only Son of God. No, we are all sons and daughters of the living God, every one of us. And that's what he was trying to tell us that we didn't get. He says, no man comes to the Father but by me. Yeah, that's right. But by me means by the Christ energy, the Christ awareness, the Christ consciousness that he prayed that we would get, that they all may be one in us, that the world may know that you sent me. But we don't get it. We worry about who the person chooses to love. If they choose to love somebody of the wrong sex or the same sex, well, then they're obviously evil. Give me a break. Love is love, period. Forget the rules. The rules have not been given to us from God. They've been given to us from the enemy of our soul that we chose as a teacher so that we could grow up. Extraordinary challenges. Every single challenge comes with an extraordinary gift, as Mike Dooley wrote. Indeed, look at the gift in the challenge. The gift is to recognize, I am more than this. I am able to love my brother and to love my sister. I am able to accept them just as they are, because that's how my heavenly Father and my earth mother accepts me, just as I am. My earth mother feeds me, and it feeds those that I consider my enemies, falsely so. And I don't mean falsely so that the earth mother feeds the enemies. I mean that the earth mother does feed everybody. And yet we've divided and divided and divided, and it's such insanity. When are we going to get it? When are we going to get it? If only we could love one another. If only we would allow ourselves to be in that energy, to bask in that glow, to celebrate that truth that we are all one, and stop the stupid idiocy of dividing and separating. That is poison to our very souls, to our very life force. It diminishes our flame of freedom. It diminishes the light that we actually are. It diminishes that because love is where it all dwells. Every good thing flows from a loving heart. Every good thing. Not just some things, but everything comes from the ability to love your neighbor as yourself. And in doing that, you are loving God. You are loving the Creator by loving the created that was created by God. And there is nothing made apart from that. That's the living word. That's the living truth, if you will. That's it. We don't have to complicate it. We don't have to make it more difficult. We simply have to get the message that love is the answer. It is the way. It is the truth. It is the life. Love is. And love is Christ. And love is God. And love is Buddha. And love is the prophet. And love is the seer. And love is everything. Everything. It's all. And it's in all. When we get that, the world is changed. When we get that, we don't have to fight for our rights because we will automatically have them. It's only by the inability to love that our rights are taken away. Because we don't get it. Will you please wake up in 2012? Will you please get it? So that this transformation can get moving even faster. And we can change the world by changing the human heart from one of self-righteousness, which is the opposite of love, to love itself, which is all that is needed. Thank you so much for listening and allowing me to share yet another morning with you. Namaste. I love you.